All right, and welcome again to another episode of Hempire. I am Pete Bahrenburg. As always, I'm here with CEO and founder of Purewell. That is Nick DiFrancesco. Nick, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Pete? How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. We're about to take a spiritual journey a little bit this time.
I always like spiritual journeys. I think we're going to do a little cannabis enhanced yoga. So let's say namaste to our next guest.
All right. Well, she does spread the message with yoga and ganja, and she is Dee Dussault. Dee, how are you doing today?
I am really good. I was trying to open the child-proof packaging of my joints.
All right. So I like it. I like it. Well, let's do it. So you practice four tenets of Ganja Yoga: enhance relaxation, deepen embodiment, elevate creativity, and expand consciousness. So tell us a little bit about the cannabis yoga and how it comes together and how those four things all work in synergy or single or by themselves.
Yeah, it's like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So cannabis can help with body relaxation. It can make people even want to do yoga. If you're tight, you're stiff, you're sore, the idea of getting on the floor and stretching is not that appealing. It can elevate creativity and a sense of play, a sense of curiosity. And, that may not be outright spiritual, but it kind of puts you in that psychological mood to kind of, feel yourself, connect to yourself, do some new flows or stretches or, kind of be weird. And then the last piece, it really does, at the right dose and strain, enhance, focus, meditation, mindfulness. So it can kind of bring in some of those more spiritual aspects, even stuff like, esoteric anatomy, chakras, stuff that you might read in a yoga book. Once you take a nice toke or two at the right dose, you're like, okay, yeah, no, I do feel like something in my throat chakra or my heart chakra. So it has all these different elements for sure.
I love it. I was going to say, so how did that really, how did you get started? How did you marry the two together? Or, of course, what you're talking about is absolutely the truth, but how did that become a reality for you?
So me, I got into weed late. I started when I was 27. When I was in high school, I took way too much. I had bad trips. And then I kept getting flashbacks of those bad trips. So I just thought, I'm too sensitive. It's not for me. Now looking, I'm like, okay, I was taking way too much. You know, a beginner shouldn't, be taking as much weed as I was taking when you're just getting started. So now I know it was a dose thing and a set and setting thing. You want to be in a comfortable, relaxed space, not like a frat party vibe when you're trying a new drug, all of this. So yeah, I got into it late. I'd been doing yoga my whole life since I was a teenager. So I've been doing it sober. And when I got high in my late 20s and didn't get paranoid, I was instead got like, wow, my yoga is just so much more open, so much more fun and free. And yeah, mystical. I kind of got more into the kind of chakras and that kind of more new age side of things. And yeah, so I thought I want to teach this, and I Googled it and no one else was doing it. There was a couple of these, like this was 13 years ago, 2009, right? So, the science about weed was just getting started, about how it helped with glaucoma, but we didn't fully know like how amazingly good for you it is. And so there was a few, dispensaries, patients groups that had yoga for their patients, but you had to consume like in your car in the parking lot. So I was sort of
right.
like, let's get together and get high together.
We're in the back alley, right?
Yeah. No harm. I mean, they, for legal reasons, everyone had to do what they could do. And, I always do at this point, always want to name the privilege of if I was a different race, would I have been able to do this in 2009? So I also want to just name like all these privileges. I grew up with my mom smoking weed. So, I didn't have to worry about judgment on my family. I don't have children, so I didn't have to worry about, getting my kids taken away. And yeah, I'm white, so I didn't really worry. It was in Canada, so also the law was different. And even that's a privilege. I didn't have to worry about going to jail for it. In America, we had, especially 13 years ago, it's a different standard. So all these different privileges.
When did that start in Canada? When was the legalization in Canada?
Legalization started, it was a few years ago, but I can't say I remember the year, but certainly by 2009, it wasn't legal. But,
right.
At worst, you'd get like a ticket for possession.
Yeah, but still, it's a lot more lenient than it was here. I mean, they were locking people up for a joint for
a lot larger area.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I was asking, because, I think it was maybe 4 years just in Florida, where they decriminalized it in Palm Beach County and Dade County and things like that, where they could just write a ticket. So before that, it wasn't anything like that. It was, you were going. I mean, so that's why I just asked. It's so funny. But I think it was in October 17, 2018, cannabis was legalized in Canada for recreational and medicinal purposes. So thank you, George, our awesome producer, giving me some facts here. But it's, it's always, I just thought I'd ask. But it's kind of funny because you said you tried it. Now, you tried it like when you were young, you just didn't know, and then you stopped smoking altogether, and then you started back up in 27?
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So a couple of bad trips when I was a teenager, and then all through college, my friends would smoke with my mom because my mom smoked weed my whole life. So when I was 27, 28, and I smoked in front of her, she was just like, I passed her the joint. She's just like, I can't even believe you're smoking. She thought it was like a goody. It's not for me. It's like, and so now it's like my profession, I teach other people to be cannabis yoga teachers. I have a book, a best-selling book, HarperCollins book on the topic. Like, it's just so weird to have this rocky relationship early on. And so that's a big part of like the Ganja Yoga experience is like, to create the setting where people can relax and really like, a lot of us, obviously who listen to the show, that, we're not new to weed, but like for people who are, if they're sensitive, if they're nervous, because of propaganda and prohibition, that can put like a nervous energy on it, like kind of a bad trip of like, do people know I'm high? Am I going to go schizophrenic? Or the police going to come? All this stuff can come with us. It's like baggage, So creating that kind of environment, it's like you can smoke a lot or a little, and we have like some community chit chat. So you sort of start to feel like, wow, there's all different types of people here, and I'm part of something, and it's like super low key. It's not, you know what I mean? So
of course,
it just creates the right environment for smoking weed, especially for a beginner.
Well, it's funny. The way you're talking about it is more of it putting you in a state of mind, right? And when we have a lot of people on, it's more how they change their life because they were injured or something had happened to them, and it makes them, which you actually mentioned, more pliable, more relaxed to maybe try new things. I would say a little bit more open-minded to maybe try a different stretch or push your body into a little bit longer. And because of that anti-inflammatory effect or that muscle elasticity, it makes you a little bit more, a little bit more flexible. So it is awesome. And I always thought that if I'm doing yoga, I might as well smoke because I'd be relaxed and it would put me in the right state of mind. So putting them together. Now, what is your thoughts of goat yoga? Okay, I just thought I'd ask. You're throwing a little bit of goat yoga in with the marijuana. They both eat grass. They both. So ganja, right? Ganja goat yoga. So but no, it was just so funny. I mean, is that something that you think is good for people too when they bring in an animal like a goat or something to?
It's a complex conversation. My initial response is like, if it makes people even want to do yoga, same with ganja or beer, yoga, wine. If someone was not going to do yoga and now they're willing to, hey, that's a positive because it's going to bring them more peace, more flexibility, more, they might be less grumpy, less road rage. It makes the world a better place. So anything that makes people want to be mindful and stretch and be peaceful, I'm in. And we got to just sort of like acknowledge that, it's getting pretty changed from its original kind of, Indian ancient spiritual practices. You know what I mean? Cannabis was there at the beginning with early yoga. It's like woven into Indian history. Lord Shiva is the Lord of yoga and the Lord of cannabis. So I don't want to be judgmental about like beer yoga, wine yoga, goat yoga. Like I said, if it's getting people to do yoga, it's cool. But we also have to just kind of be like, okay, at what point is it kind of like a circus or kind of like, you know what I mean? Like Americanized.
No, I totally agree. And that's the reason why I was really asking. I agree with, I look at it from both sides. I like it like, for me, I love how people get into CBD and that side because at least they're getting into cannabis and trying something that would open up their mind and help them in a certain way. They don't have to go right to marijuana. And honestly, some people like that high of marijuana and some people are just great with CBD or just using it in other ways. So I like the idea. What you're saying is, if it's goat yoga, I think it brings people there to actually try it. Now, if they get into it, then understanding more where the history is and things like that. But like you said, it's at least getting people to try it. But yeah, we don't want to exploit the animals. We're definitely not saying that. Let's not make a mockery out of this.
I was just going to say we can get the goat high, and then it's fair enough for everybody. I mean, we're bringing it all together. Talk about a complete entourage effect, right?
That's absolutely, definitely a different type of entourage effect. But yeah. So now the other thing is that when you host these unique weed infused yoga classes, how does that work? I mean, like you said before, where you're kind of sneaking away and everyone's doing it. How do you present it now? And what do you recommend for somebody that wants to do this with you?
Yeah, so now there's classes springing up all over the country and even around the world. My training is a digital training. I have people do it from like Hong Kong, all these different countries, Czech Republic.
Wow,
So
that's
it's
awesome.
like a movement. Hundreds of people have trained in this Ganja Yoga, and there's other brands, other offshoots. So it is a movement, which is really cool. And so if you can find like a local studio, that's like so cool because you get the community aspect. You can go to a regular yoga class where it's legal, of course. I'm not suggesting anyone do anything illegal, that kind of
Unless
thing.
you're in a back alley or in a car right before and no one sees you and you're fine.
Yeah,
No.
No
you want
one's
to be
looking in the
respectful of
back
the studio space.
Typical marijuana card.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. You can do your thing. You can definitely do your thing at a regular studio, and practice even. There's YouTube classes for people who want to experience like a free, just do yoga. Watch a yoga class, hot, do it at home high if you want to kind of get into it. So I think it's cool if people kind of build a relationship to weed separate of yoga and kind of, make sure they know their dose and stuff. But the good thing about these Ganja Yoga classes is that, like I said, we have the set and setting where, okay, if you overconsume, no big deal. We just like have a volunteer. We say it happens. We bring you water. We don't make a big fuss over it, like over pamper you, but we also just make it's like normal, no big deal. It happens. So it's okay to kind of like get a little anxious or, that's what, CBD is for. It offsets that THC kind of thing. The nano gets right in under the tongue. And so we do like subliminal at every Ganja Yoga class. And it's there for people if they need it as a kind of RX. So, what happens if it happens, we try to avoid it, obviously, with a chill vibe.
That's an awesome, awesome point. And we like to try to tell people that they know that there's always going to be a counter, antagonist, protagonist. And a lot of people don't know that. If you are feeling a little too high or it's like a little too much for you, which is fine. You got to
Or
learn
grab the wrong bottle.
and you grab the wrong bottle. You could always use CBD to offset that. But I guess what I was saying is in your own classes, which I assume you do them, of course, in person. But do you ever do any live? Well, you see, you have people from all over the world. So are they tuning in and you're doing live yoga classes over the internet as well? Correct?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I didn't do that in a big way over the pandemic. Like a lot of my teachers and a lot of other yoga teachers have been doing these virtual live stream. For me, it was like it's less my thing for some reason. You know what I mean? I either want to be in person with my people, or I have digital products that people are. It's self-paced. So I have Ganja Yoga online, like
I'm sure it
like
creates
over
a
100
disconnect for
classes.
sure.
And now my trained teachers are putting their classes up. So there's all different lengths and styles and body sizes and that kind of thing. So you're like, oh, I want a 25-minute shoulder class with, you can just see different teachers and they've all done my training. So we all kind of have some similarities in our approach. So we have these kind of digital products, or I have like in-person things. And I also, I'm also a sexuality coach. So I like a mindful kind of tantra-based, helping couples and people relate to their partner, relate to themselves. So bringing in cannabis for that too. So we do like virtual live stream events around sexuality sometimes, or, kind of like partner yoga stuff, things like that.
Okay.
Not super X-rated. I don't need to sound like, but just kind of like intimacy.
I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds exciting. I mean, it's not like,
at least
obviously, at least R-rated. But I guess what Pete said too is though this is but more hands-on approach, but a little bit more personalized attention being in your own studio is obviously going to be much better for the person that's trying to learn or to do it with you. So I could understand why you didn't want to do it that way. For me, we love doing one-on-one with people as well as, it's not the same, right? It's not the same as being able to be right there in it.
Missing that energy.
You're missing the energy, exactly. And no, you can listen. You could talk. We talk about anything you want on this show. You want to talk about sex and sexuality? Great. We're all for it.
It's related. Yoga, like it gets you in your body, it gets you in your senses, your sensations, your emotions start coming when you slow down, when you start to hear your thoughts, and you start to be with yourself. That's the whole kind of point of yoga. That's you're with yourself kind of thing. And then it's like right next door to being with yourself is like, oh wait, I'm an animal, right? Animals are sexual being. Like there's nothing wrong with being sexual. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like it's yoga and sort of sexuality are cousins, or you know what I mean? It's all related.
I agree.
So like,
a lot of bending and breathing.
More.
There's a lot of bending and breathing, Pete said.
Bending and breathing. You got it. Yeah, exactly. I like our yin and yang approach. You need the balance.
Right. And it's true. But it is, it is a more of a sexual type of thing. I think even from guys looking at it in one way, people seeing it, they feel sexy, they feel flexible. I definitely think it goes hand in hand. And obviously, look, if anyone can use anything to alleviate stress, anxiety, is ganja and sex, right? I mean, that's some of the best stress relievers that you possibly could have. So they definitely got to go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. You get it.
Now, how much do you, like regiment wise, or what I was really getting to was the question is how do you initiate cannabis in your classes? Is it something that you do before with everybody? Is it something you tell them to bring? That's what I was trying to get to.
I see. Yeah. So we consume for about a half an hour before class. And, here in California, it's legal for adults to share. I mean, state legal. Right. So everyone's invited to bring their own. It's not, explicitly provided, but adults share, and there's like always plenty to go around.
Nice.
One hell of a Tupperware party.
Yeah, right.
Live in the loopholes, right?
Dee's doing it right. That's all that we know. Dee's absolutely. I love this, and that's why we had you on. We love that this connection with cannabis, with yoga, but again, any way we can get people to understand that it's used for more things than just having a great time, for mental health, for your body, and any way you want to do it, that's great. But this is a great way to put it all together. And so what do you normally like? What's your regimen for day? Like, what do you like to do? You smoke? You're an edible person? What do you like?
Dabs.
We went right to the dabs. This one's hardcore.
Well, I don't even think of it as hardcore. I usually don't smoke until 4:20. I'm doing it because we're like, it's like a session.
Yeah, cool.
I'm also secretly just taking a little clip for my Instagram live.
All right, well, sounds good. Always posting.
Always.
We love that. Right? We love that. Definitely shout out. We're going to get you some products too, so you can try some of our stuff. I think you'll love it. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I like to dab. It helps me to manage my ADHD. I take baby dabs of like rosin, organically grown and then solventless extraction. So just pure cannabis.
We love that.
All of the whole plant, the terpenes. So it's not a baby dab, but a small dab, but probably, kind of like every hour or two.
Okay. So more of a microdose type of thing.
Yeah, microdose dabbing throughout the day. And I also take CBD tincture to offset just that huge THC amount. So when I'm not dabbing between the dabs, I take CBD. So I'm like, I'm kind of doing this up and down thing. It really helps my focus. That with coffee, I don't need to use my ADHD medication.
Coffee, that's another good one.
You take that mid. For me, it's like you earned. Like the longer I can delay, the tastier it is too. Right? You start thinking of which ones you're going to roll up, and okay, I'm going to have and a few joints in the evening over the course of the evening. So.
And I love it. We I don't know, Dee, how much you know about Purewell or everything, but we're hemp side. So we have 3 different farms. We have 2 out in Colorado, 1 in California, and we're all about quality and pureness and all that stuff. So we're that CBD. We do specialized formulas, so we do a little bit different. But I'm all about that. We're USDA certified organic, kosher, non-GMO, all that good stuff. But not having pesticide free, all that stuff. But it's how it's grown, where you're getting it from, making sure that you're not putting anything in this. Even if you had pesticides, like I said, or you had insects, you don't use pesticides. You might use like a spice bomb or something like that. So knowing where you're getting your product from and having something so clean is so important. And no matter if it's a dab, no matter if it's your tincture, no matter if it's topical, I mean, these are the things that are important that, you need to know, and you got to get educated out there. So
definitely people need to talk about this. I even here in like Bay Area, you think California Bay, it's going to be the cutting edge of environmental kind of cannabis awareness. I'll be like, what's your organic selection, or what do you have for solvent-free extraction? And they look at me like, don't say those things. Like, don't, like, shh, be quiet. Like they don't carry any of that product. You're like, this is the Bay, this is Oakland, Berkeley. I'm shocked at how, and they say it's tested, but it's like, I don't want any butane to have ever touched my shit. I don't care if it's gone now.
Right.
It's like that homeopathy idea. I don't want it ever to have touched my shit,
And what she's talking about, it's obviously, when you're talking about dabs and things like that, there's several different ways you can get to that consistency and to make a dab to basically, right? So, and one of them is butane. And it was an older, It was one of the first ways that they had made dabs a
The
long time
boardroom
ago.
way of making them.
But it was right. It was a cheaper way for sure. It was an easy way. They were able to pump out a lot more. And, I would just say that, being out there, consumers, try to get away from that, of course, if you can. They're not always going to be honest with you when you ask where it comes from or how they do it. But, if you can, and this is why, that's why kind of I like my side, D. I mean, we have all these crazy COAs, everything is a QR code on the box, everything. I mean, I have 9 pages of pesticide, everything that's in the product, everything. I go by the California prop. So it's the most stringent in any hemp, but cannabis is still not there yet when it comes to a lot of this stuff. It's more like the Wild Wild West when you would think it's more regulated. But it isn't. So that's just something to be aware of whenever you guys are consuming, whatever you guys are doing.
Totally. The more we ask for it and talk about it, the more it kind of becomes normal and not so fringe. Like, if the more consumers are kind of like, starting, just especially if you're, doing a lot of dabs, is like, okay, what's it, you just are smoking a lot of grass, whatever it is. Just, like you said, every product, everything,
But it's also you learning, right? Learning your dosing. We talk about it on almost every show, how everyone had to learn that dose where you were just taking way too much. You're a kid, you're taking a shot, you get to drink, at 21. You're like, yeah, I want anything that is the highest THC or the alcohol that you could possibly have. Let me have moonshine. Let me have alcohol. But you realize, you go, that's not really what I want to drink. And then you get so messed up that you're like you're not enjoying maybe the wines of the world, the beers of the world, just maybe a cocktail or two. And that's really why something about that is why that's important. So getting back into the classes, right? I did, it was kind of funny. I know you did Wall Street Journal, sat in on one of your classes in Brooklyn at a place called Bend and Blaze. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, because I had seen something that one of the yoga instructors was quoted by the Wall Street Journal with a criticism saying that she doesn't take issues with marijuana smoking, but sees that as a counterintuitive to yoga's purpose. Substances blur your reality and they blur your capacity for expansion. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, it was just kind of crazy that when I had...
It sounds like someone who hasn't really tried cannabis or who hasn't tried it at the right dose and setting. You know what I mean? It sounds like someone who doesn't know what they're talking, like, and maybe she has, but it's like, for some reason, her reality her experience when she consumed cannabis was that it blurred her, so it sounds like she said it blurs her reality. But I know hundreds of cannabis users who would say it heightens reality. It makes us more sensitive, more appreciative, more present, more relaxed. The anti-inflammatory effects alone, but then all the terpenes, the myrcene, putting us into our bodies, activating different parts of our brains, like just less contracted. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, of course.
It sounds like she doesn't fully know what she's talking about. That's my experience,
And again, we're saying the same thing, knowing your dose, right? Like knowing what's going to work for you to make you put you on that level where you need to be. Who knows what that is? That could be, it's completely different for me than Pete, to anybody else, but knowing that and why it heightens people and why hundreds, you said hundreds, millions, right? I mean, how many people are using it every day for the right reasons? Not that, look, it's fun to just smoke, you know what I mean? But what I mean is they're using it because it's helping them in some way. And finding that dose, it's not where I say it's so different. I mean, you're drinking alcohol. Yes, that does hinder you from driving, things like this. I mean, you really are discombobulated. You can't even walk in a line. That's not the case in marijuana. So I agree with you. I don't think it's someone that really has much experience with cannabis to say, look, this has helped me in some way. Because like you said, it could help you with focus. Which is completely different than some people think, that just makes them tired and lazy and non-social. So, again, that's important. But let's get back into your classes a little bit. I want to know more about it. I mean, you talked about there's 4 different types. And then how do you separate them or how do you put them together? And tell me a little bit more about it. I'm very interested.
Yeah. So the main, principle or types of yoga. There's like vinyasa flows where you kind of move fast through yoga. We avoid things like that because, we want to help people relax. There's, working out and moving and cardio and all of strength and all of that is important. It's just, if you're going to do those things, it's like you really want to do it slow and with really good alignment. So we focus more on things that are going to be on the relaxing side and less like of a cardio flow. So restorative yoga, lots of floor poses. It doesn't mean you can't do like a warrior, like a standing thing. It's just like in the teacher training, we talk about, getting people to rise slowly because cannabis can lower your blood pressure. It can elevate heart rate, and that's why it can cause THC can cause anxiety because it makes your heart beat faster, but the pressure is actually less. So it can also make people kind of faint or dizzy. So if you're sitting and toking, if you're going to do Ganja Yoga with friends, do you want to sit around and then, instead of just sort of popping right up and walking to your mats, to kind of intentionally rise slowly or do things that are more like on all fours, like a table pose, cat and cow or child's pose, things that are low. And we kind of have to get out of the mindset of like yoga's a fitness thing or, it definitely can be. And, there's a place for that as well if people are interested, but specifically for cannabis enhanced yoga to think of more of like, well, where in my life do I do mindful, slow, restorative, like self-care, and it's just like if we just try on the idea that as animals we need that, because other animals, they're chilling when they're not hunting or being hunted, they're resting, but we're never resting, right? We're always in either physical motion or mental motion, and it's like, okay, taking that hour a day, or whatever we can do to just really rest. So yeah, it's kind of like it's the purpose is to help people relax, to help people connect to themselves.
And people can't see this at home, but Dee's actually moving. When she talks about this, she's like doing the motions. I'm like getting into yoga motion right now. I feel like I want to get on the floor and do some poses. It's crazy. Like when she talks, she's like, you're so into this. I love it. You're so passionate. You're so intense. And, I love it. I love it. And I wish that more people
had the lessons through the computer don't work,
Right. I don't, that's what I was saying. I'm like getting into it. I mean, she's got this magnetism about her. Okay. So from an independent online in South Africa, they recently wrote this, yoga has traditionally been linked to tranquility and happiness. Yoga and CBD go together like two eggs, so to speak. Yoga takes a specific amount of mental focus, and most of the time we struggle to convince our minds to turn off the thoughts and focus on nothing. Right. And in this situation, CBD is useful. The restorative effects of CBD oil improve our experience and prevent daydreaming. Is there any preference to what strain that you like to use? I mean, are you a hybrid girl? We know it's more terpenes. We talk about hybrid, we're talking about indica, sativa. Thing of the past, people. Start to get educated. It's all about the terpenes. But in the way that we talk about it, what's your go-to?
Yeah, I mean, I think hybrids are good, or or think about what you, and yeah, like these titles are just to describe the terpene profiles. So, indica terpenes, myrcene, linalool, these kind of more sleepy type terpenes, like perfect if you're super hyper, you're coming down from a major work day, you're all like in your head, you need to relax, like, you know what I mean? So it's like good to have like an indica or indica leaning hybrid on hand for those times, right? And similar with like sativa stuff, if you're feeling kind of like couch potato, you go the sativa way, you think of it like with the terpenes medicinally, like, okay, yeah, let's use the lemon strains, the orange strains when I'm feeling sluggish, and let's use the dank, kind of like the indica, the kushes, wait, opposite. Did I say the right thing?
No, you're right.
Yeah, use the kushes when I'm feeling like like I need to find the balance, right? And that's why hybrids are good, or even mixing multiple strains. I kind of like the idea of taking 2 or 3 strains and grinding a little bit of each, and really making like a complete profile, like, or more,
little mixed green salad.
Yeah, like a little mixed green salad. There you go.
Yeah.
But do you use something specifically for the type of yoga that you're doing?
No, anything.
No,
People are welcome to bring their own. It's also personalized what people need and want in life, as personality types, but also in that moment. So people can bring all kinds of things. In my book, I talk about, matching your strain to your mood, and if you have the privilege and luxury of having multiple strains on hand, you can use your nose. You can, yeah, this is the one I want. And you don't have to know why, like, oh, it's a terp. I must want just go with your nose, trust your body type thing. It becomes really intuitive. But of course, getting educated too. And then you blend like body and mind so that you're picking the right strain and yeah, the right dose, right?
Oh,
I
You
used
yeah.
get
to
that
smoke
desired
way
result
too
that
much.
you're
I
looking
just
for.
really wasn't honoring. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Almost like cigarette advertising showed you had to smoke this like big joint to yourself or something. Right now, it's like okay, I'm trying to like what's the minimum effective dose? I still have a pretty big tolerance, and I still consume a lot of cannabis, but trying to just be more mindful as I think as I age.
And of course, the book is called, Ganja Yoga, a practical guide to conscious relaxation, soothing pain relief, and enlightened self-discovery. Pete, we talked a little bit about, we went back to let's go back to the sex for a minute, right? So let's talk about
Oh, wait a
how,
minute. You're not
right?
supposed to tell
Let's,
everybody what we talk about.
so
Oh,
let's
you mean
talk.
earlier in this? Never mind.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. So how do you feel, or how do you really present that? I mean, you said you work with couples. Where do you see how this fits in? Of course, sexuality is a big part of everybody's life, but where do you really see where your expertise comes in, and how do you, bring that to your followers?
Yeah. I mean, I was always, interested in sexuality. When I was a teenager, I worked at my uncle's convenience store and I would put like, Cosmo or even like Playboy and Hustler on the inside of the magazine and then a teen magazine on the outside. So when I wasn't serving customers, I was just like getting all this adult content. And then when I went to university,
Ultimate
I
brown
said to
bag in it.
my school newspaper, say it again.
I said the ultimate brown bag in it.
Exactly. I was like, a lot of teenage girls are not necessarily doing that, but yeah. And when I went to university, I said, you guys, to the school newspaper, you guys don't have a sex column. You really should, and I should write it. So, and I studied sexuality. It was my undergraduate and my graduate school. So I was just, into this
That's
topic.
I didn't even know that was available. I had, international business, marketing, accounting, finance.
Well, you knew it was available. You didn't know there was a degree for it.
Right. I didn't know exactly. I didn't know it was
I hope so,
definitely
anyway.
available in college, but right. I didn't know there was a degree for it. That's phenomenal. Wow.
Yeah, my university had this program where you could make your own major. So, like, I majored in sexuality, and then I take classes from like history. They had a history of sexuality, or women's studies had a bunch of sexual. So, my major was sexuality within this bigger program called individualized studies.
Wow. Where'd you go to
I'm
school?
telling you who
Only
I'm going to
one.
yell at.
Yeah. Where did she go? Where'd you go to school?
York University.
There you
It's
go.
one of
There
the
you
most, it's in Canada. It's one of the most multicultural universities in the world. It's very liberal. It's cool. It's very cool. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I was sexuality was my major, and then I studied yoga. I actually dropped out of grad school, and I studied a tantra yoga tradition, but it was about the non sexual side of tantra, which because tantra is just so big, it's like the sexual piece is just a very small sliver of this huge practice. So I studied this like wow, and and then I was like, well, I want to blend my academic studies and what I've learned about human sexuality, and I want to help people and bring in all these yoga and mindfulness, and so I help people, look at their partners, stroke their arm, talk about things, just kind of like foreplay stuff, getting people really feeling, connected to themselves. And I have a 12-hour online training called Can we swear on this? It's called Go Fuck Yourself.
Okay.
It's
Absolutely.
12 hours.
Swear away.
2-hour-long
We're
sessions.
smoking weed. Of course, we're obviously cursing.
Yes,
I mean,
right? You can bleep me if you need. So yeah,
Smoking,
go fuck
swearing, and
yourself,
sex.
and it's like so people can learn, tantra yoga approach to, kind of it's like masturbating with your whole body kind of thing, and it's like you
Nice.
listen to it, and it's audio recording. So yeah, I'm helping people kind of with cannabis, yoga, and sex. These are
So the audio reporting is giving them vibes and sounds, or you're walking them through it?
Walking it through. It's kind of
Right.
educational. It's like a little bit of like, now we're going to move to this chakra. And so, as you squeeze the tissues around your pelvis, imagine this and that. And then you'll see if you can do this breath practice and, ooh, how does that feel? And like, that kind of stuff, like a guided educational meditation thing.
Wow. No, and I always thought, Tantra to me, or to what we think is, slow, but you were saying there's a lot of different types. So can you expand a little bit upon that, or?
Yeah, I would say slow is a big piece, like slow is always a great tool and a great skill to cultivate. You can't go wrong with slow in almost anything we do. It would be great to just do it all slower. But yeah, there's sort of, you could think of tantra in three colors. And so a tantra for, better sex, using yoga or spiritual things, practices, simply to have that better sex is not seen as bad. There's no real kind of hierarchy of good and bad. They just label it red tantra. So it's, that's what it is. And then pink tantra is tantra to kind of like heal our wounds, heal our childhood traumas, heal our other traumas and other wounds, and kind of use, maybe sex energy and yoga practices, kind of more for like emotional intimacy, to bond with ourselves, bond with our partner. And then white tantra, the third one, is about using these practices to attain like, peace and enlightenment and realization of like our divine true nature and, oneness with God and the cosmos. So people can pick which color, and you don't have to be like one color your whole life, but just sort of like practices and things for your disposition, what shade of pinky, red, white you are in your life right now, in your journey. So some people kind of are more into the white side. That's what the training I took was. So we didn't have any sexual practices, but sometimes squeezing your pelvic muscles and things, but in a meditation and really taking these high charges of energy, like boom, boom, out your third eye, like honestly, like a 5-minute orgasm out my third eye type situations.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, it's a bliss in its own different way, but it's not sexual and what we would think of as sexual. So all of it's good though, like no judgment kind of thing, like red tantra, I think. Yeah.
No, my mouth is open right now. I'm learning. Pete, did you know all this, Pete?
I had no idea about any of this. Come on. This is all new news to me.
You're married for so many years. Look what you could be introducing into the bonbon. So
this is got a teacher now.
Yeah, exactly. No, I just find it all interesting, and the way that she ties it all into cannabis is just really what I love to see, because again, what we're talking about is how do we connect people? How yoga is great, but how do we bring it a little bit more where it connects? And I always felt, for me, with cannabis, with CBD, anyway, but just any of that cannabinoids in your system always made me feel more connected, whether it was to a partner, whether I was doing something that was, again, doing an activity, anything. I just felt, but I always felt when it came to meditation, or if it came to something, even sexually, it just heightens your mood, your light, that you're able to really feel, where you might be going through the actions, but you're not feeling it. You might not be feeling your partner. You might not be feeling yourself. You might not be feeling the class that Dee's teaching, but you're feeling it with cannabis on a whole different level. And they talk about, they said it in Half Baked, all these different types of smokers. And I always try to say it because it's a mainstream movie, but there's an enhancement smoker. And there's somebody that uses cannabis to enhance their life in whatever it is. It could be what we just talked about. So I love you bringing this in, because I definitely believe that this goes hand in hand. I am a big believer that yoga and cannabis is the perfect marriage. But cannabis and a lot of things are a perfect marriage too, right? But
it's worth trying it anyway with it.
Yeah, right, exactly. So. And again, does it really, do you have a lot of people that are not familiar? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, you're bringing this concept to people. Are a lot of people newbies that are coming to you, or are there a lot more experienced people?
Both. We get both for sure, but definitely lots of people who are new to either yoga. A lot of like boyfriends whose girlfriends are like, come to yoga with me, babe. You can at least get high, even if the yoga sucks type vibe. That's cool. And then, sometimes people who are new to weed, they're like, more, coming from, maybe they have yoga experience. But it's obviously a lot of people who've done one or both, it's quite a bit too. So it's like kind of like a good vibe for all of the above, if that makes sense. We'd really try to create like a, you can bring your big bong and your dabs and be welcome with like your high tolerance and all your tools, or you can take a little vape pen, like soccer mom vape pen vibes and CBD and like all of, it's like all welcome. I was doing a little bit, but
it's awesome.
Yeah. So it's just, trying to really, because really cannabis does go, every race, every age, every income level, every type of job, every type of, you know what I mean? Like you said, it goes not just with yoga, but with like nature walks and comedy and debates and board games and whatever you like, music, like it's just, it cuts across all these different ways. And these days with things so polarized, it's so good to have this. It's like a medicine that can actually like remind us that we're actually connected, that these things are polarizing, these elements and these forces, but like fundamentally we're all like, a human family, and just kind of like help us to remember what's important. So yeah.
Listen, health is wealth, people. Health is wealth, right?
And where you can get it.
And any way you can get it is what you got to do, because the world is a crazy place, especially right now. And it's not like it's always going to be crazy, right? I mean, it is now more than ever, we feel, but they probably felt like that 100 years ago, that things were changing and things were crazy then. I mean, particularly, I think it's probably crazier now, but I just, I feel like it's just what you're saying. When we're talking about just getting whatever you need, whatever you're dealing with to relieve that stress. Everybody's got, stuff at home. They got drama. They got work issues. They got life issues. And I thought that was really cool what you had said earlier when you were talking about using these type of yogas to deal with that mental blockage or issue. I mean, think about could be somebody that's not good with even their body. Maybe they don't feel comfortable to be in a room with somebody and some other people and just being able to connect. Maybe they're more of a recluse, and now being able to be in with a bunch of people and to vibe together and to do that. So I love it. But again, the mental health is really important here, people, because, you need that. You need that outlet. You can't just be go, go, go. You can't be a mom all the time. You can't be a business owner and a crazy CEO that's a nut job all the time. You got to be able to relax. And so, cannabis.
So you're speaking for everybody else but me, right? That's what I'm hearing, because, a lot of people don't get, the opportunity that you're saying here.
No, but I'll tell you. No, let me ask you a question. We always talk about yoga. What do you feel about Pilates and these types of other, physical, but it's a little more strenuous, right?
Pilates is more strenuous. So it's like, okay, if I would really want there to be like really good foundation and like safety, good, form and all that stuff. I'm not like saying don't do it, but a lot of people like, people lift high or go jogging high. I'm not saying don't do it. It's just like, I wouldn't want it to become like a careless industry thing. That's why I started the Ganja Yoga teacher training, because I was starting to see other cannabis enhanced yoga popping up. And I was like, we shouldn't be flying through these vinyasa flows. Boom, 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 bad downward dog, bad, it's sloppy. So let me start to train people. Looks like you guys are both like super distracted by something. But
no, I don't. There's like this music. There's like voices going on. I'm like, be quiet, because we're trying to hear. No, keep going. Please keep going.
So pretty much like, you don't want to just go to like a fast moving yoga class or jogging or, lifting heavy stuff high. If you do, you want to know your dose, and you just want to do it with really good care. Again, slowing down, mindfulness, all of that, So definitely mindfulness. That's, cannabis and mindfulness are key to life.
Extremely important.
Extremely important. Yeah, exactly.
No, this is it's been pretty enlightening to hear all of this and learning some new stuff, and maybe you might have convinced one of us. I don't know about me, but going to at least trying some yoga, because I definitely like to see you try to stretch out a little bit.
Oh my God, yes. You should check out the Ganja Yoga. It's ganjayoga.online. The first week's free. Kind of like a good dealer. There
you go. There you go.
Awesome. Well, we do appreciate everything.
Now let Dee tell us where we can find him.
So if you want to do the on-demand classes, it's like over 100 classes, so like a lot of me, but some of my teachers too. ganjayoga.online. And then if you want to learn about like my book, it's like a HarperCollins bestseller. HarperCollins knocked on my door, a big publisher, to say, have you ever wanted to write a book? You know what I mean? Like that
nice.
thing, such a cool thing. So I got to write this book about cannabis yoga. So that's on ganjayoga.com. You can learn about the teacher training. So we have a self-paced digital training, and then I also do in-person ones in the Bay. And then we're starting to, we have like certified teachers around the country. Like, if you could look up your city or your state and see if there's a teacher there. Yeah, we have a CBD line, also organic, also grown on US and European soil, like just, education. And then the sexuality piece. I'm a sex
education
coach.
is most important. So absolutely.
Education is most important for sure.
So we do appreciate time, and we want everybody to, absolutely go out there and follow Dee. So Dee, thank you again there for everything you do.
Pleasure.
And we do ask everybody here to follow on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Cannabis Radio, and anywhere you guys like to get your podcast. Please subscribe, share, tell everybody about it. Start learning in every way about ganja, yoga, cannabis, CBD. We want to thank Nick, thank PureWell. That's purewell.com, PURWELL. And for everybody who goes there, you get 20% off with Hempire code, HEMPIRE. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week.